It's work to do as a people, and it won't go away. We're the chosen, called by heaven to do the work that must be done. Alive with faith and purpose to bring our people together as one. Chorus, you know it's time to stand like a people. You know it's time to stand like a people today. It's time to stand like a people. Stand up and say, no more wondering, we are finally on our way. Here we go. Our children need to see themselves in a much more positive light, to see that nothing is impossible when they try with all their might. We must build the schools that will teach them. They are children of kings and queens. It's up to us to save them. Let us work and build and sing. Chorus. We know it's time to stand like a people. Rock it. You know it's time to stand like a people today. It's time to stand like a people. Stand up and say, no more wondering, we are finally on our way. Our mothers and fathers and elders, they have given us all they can. They stood up and fought to protect us in this hard and bitter land. Their trials must give us courage, every woman and man. None are free unless all are. We pledge our life to take back our land. You know it's time to stand like a people. You know it's time to stand like a people today. It's time to stand like a people. Stand up and say, no more wondering, we are finally on our way. Woo! All right. That little baritone I tried to sneak in there, you know, thinking about my main man, Paul Robeson. All right, and we got that. How about our, we said we're going to do This Little Light of Mine. That's on page 23. Okay, we got it. Man, this is a mass choir. A must choir. A ma'at choir. All right, here was some in-words.
Everybody involved.
Here we go. All right. We're going to go straight through it like that. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine all the time. Verse 2. Everywhere I go, I'm going to let it shine. Oh, everywhere I go. Come on now. I'm going to let it shine.
Yes.
I said, oh, everywhere I go, I'm going to let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine all the time. This morning that will say. This morning that will say. I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this morning that will say, I'm gonna let it shine. This morning that will say, come on now, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine all the time. At work, at school, at play, I'm gonna let it shine. Well, at work, at school, at play, come on now, I'm gonna let it shine. At work, at school, at play,
every day,
I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine all the time. Even in my home, even in my home, I'm gonna let it shine. Even in my home, come on now, I'm gonna let it shine. Even in my home, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine all the time. One more time. Even in my home, come on now, I'm gonna let it shine. We'll say now, even in my home, bring it home now, I'm gonna let it shine. Even in my home, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine all the time. Right. I beg your pardon, Robertson, Mama Jasiri, Bakari over here. I heard drop it down a little bit. Wait a minute. Man, come on. Here's a man who needs no introduction. Ladies and gentlemen.
I'm a right up. This Sunday, I've decided to do my historical tribute on a place, but more specifically an institution. That institution has provided hope and served African Americans for centuries. This institution is also the place I'll be traveling to in 5 weeks to further my education as a young black male. I've actually visited this institution prior to enrolling and walked across the quad, feeling all the history around me and knowing that I have a lot to prove. That institution is Howard University. As one of the first and foremost HBCUs in the world, Howard University's original purpose was to serve as a theological seminary for African American clergymen seeking education. This idea was first conceived by the First Congressional Society of Washington, but the idea changed and developed to include a provision for establishing a university. Although Howard was founded in late 1866, the university charter was enacted by Congress and later approved by President Andrew Johnson on March 2, 1867. The university was to be named after the Civil War hero, General Oliver O. Howard. My Bible finds it ironic that an HBCU, one of the first, be named after a white man. However, General Howard was both the founder of Howard University and a commissioner of the Freedmen's Bureau, Howard University's biggest financial support at the time, and an organization that aided African Americans in assimilating and adapting to life after slavery. Within 2 years of being founded, Howard University consisted of colleges of liberal arts and medicine. By 1926, Howard was composed of 8 schools and colleges, although none were nationally accredited, a student body of around 1,700 students, and a budget of around $700,000. 1926 was also the year Dr. Mordecai Wyatt Johnson, Howard's first African-American president, was appointed. Now, by the time Dr. Johnson retired in 1960, about 34 years later, Howard had a budget of $8 million and 10 schools and colleges, all fully accredited. The university had expanded to accommodate 6,000 students, along with an addition of 20 new buildings and a greater number of faculty, including many contemporary black scholars. Also during that time, 1955 marked the inauguration of graduate programs that had the authority to grant PhDs. Since then, Howard has grown even more, with a student body of around 10,000 students, an endowment of more than $450 million, a campus size of 500 acres, and a large alumni network. I can't tell a single black person I'm going to Howard without them mentioning a cousin, an aunt, or some relative that attended Howard. Many of the people have even given me like contact info in case I ever need something from an alum who lived near DC. I remember talking to someone, for those of you who do know Mama Rakita. She's a teacher here at Illiamade. I remember she mentioned she had a relative and an alum living in New York, and I was really taken aback when she told me that if I ever needed anything or a place to stay, that alum had my back. That was really something for me. And that just goes to show how Howard and HBCU serve as instruments through which African Americans can help one another succeed and thrive. Case in point, the university graduates more African Americans with PhDs and more African American doctors than any other institution in the world. Notable alumni include Supreme Court Judge largely responsible for the ruling in the Brown versus Board case, Thurgood Marshall. Distinguished novelist whose book Song of Solomon I've read at Bishop O'Dowd, Toni Morrison. Famous actor from The Cosby Show, I'm sure you all know, Felicia Rashad. Notable surgeon involved in the first program to preserve and store blood plasma, whose dorms I would be staying in, Dr. Charles Drew. Interesting enough, I will also be studying medicine at Howard like Dr. Charles Drew. Although not every building is named after an alum, they are named after a lot of well-known famous ancestors. One building I would be studying in is named after the famous orator, editor, and abolitionist who referred to July 4th as, and I quote, a thin veil to cover up crimes which was disgrace a nation of savages. Frederick Douglass. And there's also one other alum I'm sure you all know. Frukin was a community churchgoer and member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Alpha Chapter, our very own Baba Shango. Thank you.
This is the time in our service for our Litany of Sacrifice. It is the time when we share our gifts that just keep on giving. And today we want to recognize that you'll see all the bags in the back in the refrigerator outside. It's not because we just being country. It's because our kitchen is in the process of being renovated. But guess what? One of the main building materials of this kitchen renovation is faith. There is as much faith going into the build of this kitchen as is cement, brick, and mortar. Okay, so and we recognize that the resources that we give, we stretch them as far as they possibly can go. We got Abe Lincoln and what's her name? Is it one of the bald ones and the one with the big old wig on with the little flip under in the back? Whoever it is. We just be having them screaming and yelling because we are stretching these dollars as far as we possibly can. Right? And that's good. We like torturing them, but we don't like but we just know that whatever donations you give us, we are doing the best we can to support the work of this community with them. And folks at home, don't feel shy. You can indeed go to our website, wosecommunity.org, and provide us with a donation. And you can even earmark it for the kitchen project if you would like. We wouldn't be mad at you. All right, so today's reading comes from the book of Keti. And it says, page 50. It is passage number 2 in the Hosea, which is one of our foundational texts for the community. You should have a Hosea close to you. And the Hosea is also available at Marcus Books. I know. We can't forget the folks at home. All right, so passage number 2. Let's read it together. Follow in the footsteps of your ancestors, for the mind is trained through knowledge. Behold, their words endure in books. Open and read them, and follow their wise counsel. For one who is taught becomes skilled. Do not be evil, for kindness is good. Make the memory last through love of you. Thank you. And so you have already fulfilled one of the instructions. You opened the book and read the words of the ancestors, and you are allowing them to teach you because you are following their wise counsel by following in their ways and providing support for your spiritual community. Additionally, it says, make the memory of you last through love of you. And what better memory to leave than a supported school and spiritual community? So at this time, it is time for our litany of sacrifice. Please get one of the worship companions and songbooks. It's a black binder, and it will be near you. And for some odd reason, we only have like 4 of them out. If I could snitch one from someone. And thank you. And you can share on page 19. I'm sorry, on page 15. And we'll all stand and recite the litany of sacrifice. We have Kara and Jalea over at the altar, ready to light the candles. And we'll start together. Save us, O Holy One, by your name. Vindicate us by your might. Hear my prayer, divine protector. Listen to the words of my mouth. How can we repay the Holy One for the gifts that have been given to us? We will lift up the cup of salvation and call upon the God of our ancestors. We will fulfill our vows to our Creator in the presence of all our people. Gladly we bring our sacrifices to you. We will praise your name, O Amen-Ra, for it is good. Umoja, unity. We shall strive to maintain unity in the community, in the family, community, nation, and race. Ujima, collective work and responsibility. We shall build and maintain our own communities together. Our brothers and sisters' problems shall be ours to solve together. Nia, purpose. We shall make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community and the restoration of our people to our traditional greatness. Altogether, Imani, faith. We will believe with all our hearts in our God, our people, and in the righteousness and victory of our struggles. Amen-Ra. So as we get our last few donations collected, I will invite you to come forward to the altar, the prayer. Okay, the kneeling pads have been laid at the altar. If you would like to come forward to the altar for prayer. And right here, right now, I invite you to turn within, recognizing your connection with the Most High, recognizing that there is only one Most High. It has many manifestations, but there is only one Most High God. And we give thanks for the brilliance of the Most High. We give thanks for our connection with it. Most High, Holy Spirits, ancestors, we come to you humbly today, asking that you hear our prayers of thanksgiving. We thank you for all of the wonderful resources that you have put in front of us, not just the natural resources that we experience every day, the sun that's shining and the wind and all of those beautiful things, the scent of the flowers that we don't even have to ask for, that you just give us as a daily gift. We thank you for the infinite nature of your daily gifts. We thank you for our knowledge of you. We thank you that our understanding of the love that you have for us exists in abundance. We appreciate your abundant love. We know that it is infinite, that it is unceasing, and it is far-reaching and all-healing. We thank you, Most High, for all of the wisdom that you give us directly and the wisdom that you instructed the ancestors to leave for us. We ask you, Most High, to support us in our work. Help us do the best that we can to do the work that we know you want us to do. We ask you to watch over each and every student in this school. We ask you to keep them safe from any possible harm or concern. We ask you also to watch over the teachers and keep them safe. We know that there's so much going on out in the world, and they do such hard work, and our children are so precious to us, Most High God. Help them to understand that they are loved and that they are supported, and if they ever need anything, that we are here for them. Most High, please help those of us who are lost, who are wandering, who are searching for something. Help them to understand that there is a way, and that way is a direct path to you, Most High God. Help them to understand that they can always have a healthy relationship with you. They don't even have to ask, that you're already there. All they have to do is turn their hearts towards you. We thank you for these sacrifices that have been made here on your behalf and on behalf of the community. And we ask you to help us stretch these offerings as far as we possibly can and help us to multiply them. We know that regardless of what numbers show up in the basket, we know that you are our unceasing, unfailing source and supply. And we open ourselves to receive your gifts. We thank you for all that you give us, Most High, Holy Spirit's ancestors, and we anchor our words by saying, Ashe, Amen, Ashe. All right. And as we bring the lights up, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our speaker. She's someone that you've heard before, someone that you know pretty well, and someone who is constantly doing a bunch of different stuff. So without further ado, I introduce myself, Sister Tracy. Okay. See, that's why we need that filler music. I have this vision for the community that we have a full band, right? And our brother Dave Goodlet, Dave Goodlet, he's on the bass guitar, and I come up and the song is like, we want the funk, you know, da, 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 and the stones of fire is on fire. I can see it. That's right. Then that give me a minute to get up here and get myself situated. And that said, I give thanks to the Most High, the Necheru, the Orishas, the ancestors for the guidance that you have given me in preparing this message. I hope that the message that I bring today is exactly what people need to hear. And I'm knowing that I'm doing my best to deliver it, so hopefully they enjoy it. Ashe. Well, the title of my message today is Let Your Motto Be Resistance. Let your motto be resistance. Now, here in Oakland, aside from our general African history of resistance and freedom fighting, we have a strong history of resistance right here in Oakland. And not just right here in Oakland, but here in Wose. A number of folks in this community have been and are fighting for the liberation of our people in various ways we don't even know about. And some of us do know. We know that Baba Tai was a member of the Republic of New Africa. We know that from looking around that there are a number of folks here who were instrumental in helping Wose get on its feet. And this is a resistance movement. We resisted the tyranny of the public education system by providing education in a safe space to be for our children. And we need to be aware of that. So Wose, tell me a little bit. I'm going to ask you now. This is participatory. Tell me a little bit, or call out the name of a freedom fighter that you admire, and give me one short sentence, short now, on why you admire them. Anybody. It doesn't matter. Any freedom fighter. We don't do. Maya Angelou, all right, for her resilience.
Paul Robeson for his strength, and excelling out and striving for excellence in every field in which he tried to in which he worked in.
Ashe, Paul Robeson, thank you. Anyone else? We got plenty.
William Jacqueline was the first African-American firefighter in Hartford, Connecticut. Also one of my ancestors.
Nice.
It's been a while since that he was the first, after he became a fireman, no other African-American was allowed to be a fireman for 50 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
and so it took a while, and he actually distinguished himself at a major fire at a train station where he had to retire.
Thank you, sister. Any others? One more.
Martin Delaney. Just read mention a quote said about him that he was unapologetically African.
Ashe.
He was a contemporary of President Douglas, but he was at that time he was unapologetically African.
That was saying something. That was saying definitely saying something. So the book that I'm holding is called just one book called Let Your Motto Be Resistance. It's a book of portraits, and it was organized by another revolutionary, a woman who is my absolute one of my greatest role models, Deb Willis. She's a curator, and she's the director of the photography program at NYU. But there are beautiful images of folks like Jack Johnson, who we all know, right? Gordon Parks, who is one of my favorite photographers ever. Eartha Kitt, who was just who was a real diva, because she also stood up against the tyranny of the government and was, blackballed. And they tried to ruin her career, but they couldn't stop her. Right? Mahalia Jackson, she sang the songs by which the struggle was, that sort of put energy behind the struggle. So a lot of people turn to her music and her words for comfort. So, and we also have, of course, Malcolm X. And the last one I'll show is Judith Jameson, who is the director of Alvin Ailey. She took over when Alvin Ailey passed. But just her beauty and her poise always inspired me as a child. And she was definitely very unapologetically Black, very unapologetically African, very proud of herself. And I remember watching her and saying, I want to be like her when I grow up. So I'm going to pass this book around, and you can take a look at it if you would like. So we understand the beauty and the value of that energy, that spirit of resistance. And what about the unnamed freedom fighters and the unknown freedom fighters? So Sister Rahima mentioned her ancestor being a firefighter, and we may never have known about him had she not said anything to us about him. What about those in our families who stood up against the tyranny that they were experiencing, whose names may not end up in a history book? We do our historical tributes so that we make sure that we remember these folks and that we can learn from the lessons that they teach us. I think about my great-grandfather, and look, my mom and dad are coming in just now. And I just started talking about my great-grandfather, Ben Harley Sr., who was the father of 13 and who went to work for a white man, according to the story told to me by my great-aunts. He went to work for a white man on his farm, and the man hired him because he thought he was going to bring his 13 children to work on the farm. And when he got there by himself, he said, my great-grandfather, well, where are your children? And my great-grandfather said, my children are going to school. Right, I don't know what your kids is doing, but my children are going to school. And that was during a time when they definitely needed the money. They were not wealthy people. Not to mention defiance of any type back then could very well carry a heavy price. We also have my uncle Junior, who in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, I'm told slapped a white man because the man was acting dodgy in his dealings with my grandmother about a sewing machine. And I was told that later they had to hide him under the floorboards when the white men came for him. So speaking your mind and speaking and standing your ground often takes courage, right? One of the books that I used to put together this message is The Teaching of Ptahhotep. If you don't have this book, get it. This is an absolute must. It is a requirement. And every child should have their own copy of this book. Just like some people run out and buy a child a Bible as soon as they are born or as soon as they get to a point where they might start reading, this book needs to take over, right? This book needs to take over. Many in my parents' and grandparents' generation learned to read by reading the Bible. And the book of Ptahhotep can be that for our children. It can be a teaching tool as well for our children. So on page